Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Class A Paranormal Podcast. This month, we have one guest for sure, and hopefully a second one joining us a little bit later. We have Kyle, who is the leader of our tech department. He's going to be talking about analog versus digital equipment and sort of the pros and cons of each and how we apply both types of these types of equipment in our paranormal / scientific fields, and how we kind of use their strengths and to our advantage. And then later, hopefully, we'll have Belil, a new member, joining us, and he is an electromagnetic specialist. So he'll have a lot of interesting insights. If hopefully we can catch him towards the tail end of the episode. So we'll welcome in Kyle here. And there he is. You can see all of his equipment in the background, and that's just some of it.
That's just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. How's it going?
Good, yourself?
Good. I'm excited to this episode is really like for you to shine. I've been doing a lot of talking the last few months, but this is really a you subject, and I'm interested in learning about these things. I know the basics of the equipment and the hand and stuff that we use, but there's a reason why we have a tech department, and I'm super grateful that you and Lil and Tony all have your kind of specialties, and we're always learning. I'm trying to retain all the information that you have. Mm-hmm. And so we'll start off maybe with a simple, in layman's terms, description of what analog and digital is for people at home who maybe don't know a lot about it.
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to reiterate that this is just for our profession, right? It's not overall I'm not a sound man for Black Sabbath or anything like that, So, but this is to capture, the stuff that we're looking for anyway. What works for us, for the paranormal field.
Yeah. And how we apply these things.
Yeah, so analog is just basically a physical representation of the environment, the natural capture of the sound and video within the environment. So
it's a form of recording and interpreting an environment.
Yeah. Whereas digital is more number ones and zeros, and so.
Okay. So do they use different methods to read the environment, or do they use different methods to display to the user what they've read?
Sorry, what do you mean by that?
Analog and digital. When I hear digital, as a person who doesn't have any background in tech,
okay. Yeah.
Like a digital clock with the numbers, more of a techie, using light up things to show us. Is it just the presentation that's different, or the way that they actually measure the environment is done differently?
Yeah, well, for recording purposes, analog, you're going to get again everything in there, right? All the nuances, right? Whereas digital, it'll compress what it's an approximation of the albeit a very good one, but you can, I find it's missing the character, of whatever we caught.
It refines it basically.
Yes, yeah, exactly, and it's still the same. Well, I shouldn't say that. Most of the time, it's still the same thing, but you don't there's certain frequencies that are attenuated, and the filters that filter out normally what you wouldn't want to hear in let's say a music video or whatever, right. But in this case we want to hear everything, right?
Yeah.
So because it's sometimes outside of our outside of what would sound good, right?
That's the reason we set our recorders to not clear up the sound. There's settings on different EVP types of recorders to focus on a voice and clear out the background stuff, and we make sure that we turn those things off because we want the background things.
Right.
If a spirit is trying to talk, it's probably not going to be really loud.
Yeah.
We want all those small sounds.
So I'll give you a little example of that. We were at the Sir John Johnson house, and we caught I caught an EVP on my mixer. I always listen to so my mixer has 8 channels. I always listen to the master first, so that's everything, right? So you never know where you caught something. So I caught something on the master channel, and when I wanted to zero down, zero in on the where it came from, I couldn't find it anywhere on the just little tidbits, here and there. And then so it took all 6 microphones to capture that EVP. It wasn't a major one, like it wasn't a class A EVP, but still it was very interesting because we had different settings on the different mics. So shows you right there that it adds the character to it. So my mixer records an analog. We record in analog and digital because I send it to a DAW afterwards, a digital audio workstation. So we have both to work with.
Right. So you would say that what different equipment captures, it's not changing what it's capturing, it's just presenting it in a way that we might interpret it differently.
Yes. Yeah.
Some more like just the natural state of things rather than translating things and doing what it assumes we might want it to do, like clearing up little sounds.
Yes. Yeah. And it's rare, but sometimes it'll even completely change the what it sounds like. Even words, I'm sure you've come across it too. Where I played you the original file, right, and then the one that I sent you over online, it sounds different and a lot of times lower, like not as clear.
Yeah, it's true. It's a good experiment that you did with all of those different types of mics and stuff, and hearing how you caught things differently. So now we can compare and contrast how all these different pieces work. We know which ones are maybe more sensitive or have like a broader range of hearing. We know which ones might distort things a little. I mean, it's hard to know what's distorted because we don't actually know what the original sound sounds like because we can't hear it with our own ears.
Right.
So to some degree subjective. All we have is like a majority. So if you've got 4 microphones that have something sounding the same on those 4, only one has it sounding a little odd. Chances are, that one is maybe, I wouldn't say like unreliable because it might not be an error, but it could just be analog. It's digital, just capturing things a bit different.
It's all in what frequencies they catch best, and like the signal to noise ratios. There's a whole bunch of factors. Like those 6 microphones that I had upstairs there, a couple were condenser mics, a few were conference mics. It had a shotgun mic, which is for distance more. It's a super cardioid pattern, which it's a narrow beam. So it only has a narrow focus, but when it catches something, it's really intensified, right? So it had all the different types up there, and you only heard a few of them. You didn't even hear anything, and then and the rest of them, there were little parts where you wouldn't even think it was an EVP. It's really really strange one for sure. It's first for me.
You need a variety like that in the field that we're in because you need to play on different strengths. There's probably not one machine that can do it all. So you get one that's more long distance, one that's short distance, and you kind of create this net that's able to make sure that you're catching whatever it is based on the strengths of each piece of equipment, or in a broader sense of the strength of the analog and the strengths of the digital, right? And that we know about what their weaknesses are, and we are aware of that, or we can compensate for that with other pieces of equipment. So it's creating like a balance, right? So
but for me, it's an ongoing R&D for us in the tech department. We're always testing new. If I don't bring out a new piece of equipment each investigation, I feel like I haven't done
Yeah.
anything. You know.
Yeah. Oh, you're thinking about it 24/7, which
Yeah.
I love. As there's nothing like a little bit of an obsessive person with a great team member. Like
Yeah.
that's the
Little OCD.
I mean, could be at worse things.
Yeah.
It's definitely super helpful to the team, and yeah, we're always thinking, we're always rewriting, like, how can we make this more foolproof? How can we make sure that we're catching everything possible and that we're catching it correctly and not having it come out weird or anything
Yeah.
like that.
Different. Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say are like the main pros of analog, for instance, analog pieces?
Well, analog, you should be getting what was created, right? Exactly to, or very, very close to, there could be some interference in there because analog, a little more prone to that, the cables, but so the sound or voice or whatever that you're hearing, that should be what it is, and what's really strange is it doesn't come in the ghost frequency or anything. It comes in within our hearing range. So how is it that we can't hear it at the time and then it's imprinted, afterwards?
Yeah.
We can hear it afterwards,
Right.
Yeah.
That's weird. I didn't realize that they were hitting on the same frequency a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Hearing. Yeah.
Now there is stuff that in the ultrasound and the infrasound. The one that you caught in Renfrew, that was actually in just over in like under and over in the ultrasound.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there we didn't hear everything. You know what I mean? So it's but we still heard enough, to make out that it was a voice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so hard when we don't know where ghosts exist. What frequency do they exist?
Yeah, it's trial and error, R&D.
Tune into one and like know that that's where we're gonna find them. So we need really broad equipment. Would you say that analog is cheaper?
It depends. It depends. You would think, yeah, but sometimes the older equipment is the better stuff, and the stuff that I am looking for, it seems to be very expensive. Yeah, more so than the digital. Digital, it's more the digital stuff now. There's more quantity of it, right? So it'd be a little cheaper and.
I think like the way they make things lately, we associate new things with being made a little cheaper. So it doesn't surprise me that people maybe want to go old school and they want to get the stuff that's like manual. I associate manual with analog, but I don't know if that's accurate to say. But it's really going back to the natural, measuring of things and
needles and knobs, and and they're accurate as long as they're calibrated right. So.
Yeah. A little more accurate.
Yeah.
Are they bulkier? Is the equipment tend to be like bulkier or?
Yes. Yeah. That's for sure. We get into, I have it down here, the reel-to-reel recorders, and I think we have a picture of it somewhere, but that stuff tends to be a lot bulkier.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to probably look for a van soon, a big Sprinter van.
We've been talking about that for a while. Having a
I have, yeah. It's too bad I didn't know at the time when I bought my car.
You've got a storage room already, aside from what's behind you.
Yeah.
You're running.
This is probably about a quarter of what I have. The rest is in Cornwall.
So sometimes, we have to take into consideration how much we want to lug to an investigation too.
Oh,
It might be a factor that plays in is how bulky it's all going to be. Sometimes
digital is definitely easier, yeah. And I don't want to cut digital down because my Zoom H4n, I just love it. It captures, it's crystal clear, and it's got the wide frequency band, right? Or the
So does that mean that it can record a bigger,
a wide range,
wider range than a digital one would?
frequencies? Yeah. So it yeah, I like it for sure. It's and it's got 4 channels just
Yeah.
on its own. It's right. Where is it? Oh, I got my. We just did an investigation, and this stuff's all over the place there.
Yeah. So we did a joint investigation with Chaps, which you can find
Yeah,
on our social medias.
yeah,
Um,
and Elliot from
and Elliot too, yeah,
York. Yeah.
from Phantoms of Yore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, is there anything else kind of major of like the strengths of analog?
Let's see. I think we pretty well.
Those are the major ones.
Yeah, they're the major ones, anyways.
And then the counterpart for a lot of those
Yeah,
things that we
the cons would be like the process, like you want digital for processing, right?
So, what does that mean? Go a little more into what that means.
Well, what after you catch the so where when it comes to switching it over to the digital is a process too, right? So that's why it is a lot easier to use digital.
You mean like putting it into a software where we can listen to it?
Right. Yeah. So from tape to from tape
The
to
modern
software. Yeah. And yeah, so that you need a special device for that. I don't have one right at the moment there, but to show here,
So
but yeah, it's time consuming. It's
yeah, you need
so
better.
that's why I just use the H4n, and
Yeah.
but once I'm set up better,
Oh, that's a great mix.
I'm gradually switching over to analog, not completely, but
Yeah.
for the recording end of
Mix.
things.
Yeah. It's always good to have a mixture of different things.
Yeah.
Lots of digital, lots of analog, and lots of all of it.
Yeah. Well, there's a few setups I have that are you call it like I call it the hybridization of one is for my mixer, like I said. There's both analog and it records both analog and digital, so kind of just messing with things. I see how it works, and sometimes some setups work, some don't,
Yeah,
and,
it's trial and error for sure.
yeah.
A lot of our setup in general is,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
and the scientific method and stuff. So we're always changing it to be more
Mm-hmm.
like efficient and
Yeah.
correct and accurate, so that what we're capturing is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You mentioned that the cables of analog could experience
So they experience some interference, like RFI and EFI, so radio frequency interference or electrical interference. There's a lot of that in L'Oreal, especially
scratchy sounds and stuff that we
and you'll hear like something like you're tuning a radio there, that that sound there, you'll hear that through the system sometimes, and
electrical kind of sounds, not really vocal.
yeah, no, not vocal. No, it's interference, so they have power lines in there, or smaller, like electrical lines and whatnot.
Would we use a Faraday cage more likely than with analog equipment to block some of that out?
Yeah, well, you can use it for both. Yeah, either one actually, because that's airborne. Yeah. So the stuff I'm talking about, well, it is airborne, but I mean, it's running across like the copper piping, right? And and who knows what equipment is in, like L'Oreal and near Solitaire, is yeah. I don't know if you remember the EVP with the, well, it wasn't EVP, but it was a capture of all those wacky sounds that came out of it. Do you remember that?
Yeah, not human sounds, just
No. Yeah.
yeah.
But then you look at it, only happened once. So was it being manipulated somehow? How do they make a voice? They don't have vocal
Theory,
cords.
right, is that that spirits can potentially manipulate, electronics and make those kinds of weird things. So it's hard to say then, because you need to
It is hard, yeah.
or if it's a spiritual thing. All these theories, sometimes make it really hard to interpret what the issues are.
And I was talking about the L'Oreal jail there, by the way, in case anybody's wondering. Yeah. So
yeah, what room was that in?
So solitary. That's
Yeah,
yeah. It's the one where well, this is probably the reason why there was echoes in there, because it was metal. The whole
Right.
room was metal. It was and the hallway was really condensed with wiring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even
So
yeah,
you
the
can look at it both way. Or like the EMF is just um,
high.
like causing your symptoms, or is it helping for them to manifest, right? Because it's
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
more
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
conundrum a lot of the time.
yeah.
It's hard when these things have so much crossover, right?
Mhm.
It's really hard to eliminate them as possibilities when they also could be the cause of the spiritual activity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's very hard to decipher it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, we just, at that point, we need just layers of evidence that are,
Mhm.
can't be confused with possible, tech
Yeah,
malfunctions or anything. Just has
yeah,
to be like, the only option for this is that it's a ghost,
yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but we're just compiling data. I don't get rid of anything. It's in the data banks, and in case I have to go back to it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Constantly,
mhm.
constantly reviewing and re-reviewing and
Yeah.
passing things along and
Hmm.
getting a good filtration sort of over all the content. You
Hmm.
doing definitely most of the work, but I think you like that.
Yeah, yeah. It is. I do need help though.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
Agreed.
it's gonna. I think Bilal is gonna. Well, everybody is gonna help in the tech department,
Yeah,
but Bilal with the EMF. He's an EMF engineer, right?
yeah,
So that'll take a load off of me. That's for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We're really excited to hear his insights. Hopefully
yeah,
today, if he can make it, and just in
yeah.
general on investigations, he's a really
Hmm.
cool position. And the tech team, yeah, you needed some extra support and stuff.
Hmm. Hmm.
You've got your brain is full. You need to be able
Oh,
to
it's too much. I
delegate.
found that out in the last investigation. There, I just the thing I wanted to put out a complete analog version of what you would call an 80 meter, but these were all bench tops. Um, so like a Tesla meter and everything an 80 meter has, plus a few extras.
Yeah,
But it's a whole setup. So talking about bulky, it's compared to an 80 meter, an
yeah,
80 meter, eh?
yeah,
So I didn't have time to get it out there, And
yeah.
the,
It's worth it though.
the sound alone takes a while.
Worth it to highlight those pieces. To lug it along and really test them out. I mean, we can't bring them to every
No.
investigation, but once in a while.
Well, I wanted to set it up there and near Solitary to see what was going on. So
We have to test them somehow. So we're gonna have to bring big pieces along sometimes.
yeah,
Big,
it always helps to do repeats, like
yeah,
repeat investigations, because you can do that,
yeah,
follow investigation. But eventually, I won't. Hopefully, in the future, I won't have to lug too much, because it'll all be set up in a van or a trailer or something, like
yeah,
a big mobile unit.
yeah. That would be
Just run cables out. Yeah.
yeah. Dream big.
Yeah.
We'll try.
Yeah.
So let me just take a little look here through some of the cons that you had told me about. Um, you're you're saying here that like some parts are becoming hard to find, like some of the tape because they're older. Analog
Yeah.
needs to be a little older, so it's harder to find pieces. It says
Yeah.
like data can become corrupted. Um, I would associate that with digital, but
Yeah, well, corrupted. Yeah, more like if it's lost, if a tape, if it eat like a reel
mm,
to reel eats up the tape, it's gone.
right. It's
So
this it's a
you want to
digital
switch it
material,
over right away. Yeah,
right?
where digital, you can make copies right away, and you don't
Mm,
lose it. Like the original doesn't alter, right? So
yeah,
as long as the original doesn't go down, but still they're pretty close anyway. So,
gotcha.
yeah.
Okay. Any other kind of major cons to analog equipment that you can think of? What would
I
make
just
is digital?
yeah, it's like the major ones are the processing time, and
Yeah,
what
transferring
else?
things over,
Yeah, the
passing them.
transfer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah,
Size.
the quality is easily lost though, if you
Mm-hmm.
don't capture it right. That's another one.
It's more delicate in
Yeah,
general. Yeah.
yeah.
but might be worth, the level of accuracy and like just the default content that you're getting.
Hmm.
Okay, makes sense. And
Yeah.
then, so digital, what would you say the strengths are? Obviously,
Number one is all the processing that's involved. You want digital for sure.
has a better footprint. You can make copies on a computer and USB and send it,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's
it's
yeah, it's all one format.
and yeah, it's done very quickly. Yeah, if you have to send copies here and there to get whatever tested
Hmm.
or reviewed or it's just so much easier to work with.
Yeah,
It's all right on the screen there. So with when you're working with the a DAW, so
yeah. We'll show kind of
yeah,
this digital layout. This is, it looks complicated, but at the end of the
yeah.
day, I think it's easier for us to
Yeah,
manage.
once you know how to maneuver around there, that's
Mm,
Mixpad there,
yeah,
and you can put I forget how many you can put on there, but multiple channels, and you can view them in real time. That's something you can't do with analog unless you have paper recorders,
yeah,
like
yeah,
yeah, needle and paper recorders. I'll
yeah. It's super
have to
cool.
take a sip here a second.
Yeah, and so what about well, I guess the risks then with digital, other than like with analog, the risks would be like the actual, tape ribbon getting,
Mhm.
damaged or physical
Yeah,
damage to the actual equipment,
yeah,
and you lose everything. This would you say is more like a corruption or like
yeah,
virus is an issue or like encryption?
yes,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, corruption, like the files or file losing the original. That's happened to me. The raw file, and you don't have the exact copy. You know, although I mean it's very close, but you lose some clarity. And especially online because you've noticed that if I send something online there's through a few different platforms that you don't even hear it or barely hear it,
yeah,
right? Where here I'm
trans-
listening to it and like what,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
So um
let's see here. What
so
else?
the digital sound it compresses, right? When you so you are losing some that would be a con, uh losing some character like I was mentioning a
Okay.
while ago with Anna.
It's in the
Yeah.
process of compressing. Is that compressing
Yes.
frequency range? Is that what
Yeah.
that
Everything.
means?
Like yeah. Yeah.
Outer. Okay, it's like a
Yeah.
little.
So you're missing the to me I call it the character of it, the nuances of the whatever was captured. So
And then within compression, are there different types of compression? Like I know there's like MP3 might be a broader or something than PC. Yeah, like I know with our
usually,
recorders
yeah. This is there. I don't know all the
or wave,
what wave is usually what we move the raw file to.
yeah,
Wave seems to be easier to
that'll be less
use.
compressing.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know all the details of that. That would be Bill Elmore.
Yeah, yeah. I just know in researching how to
Yeah.
best use our recorders, you have to find one that has different sort of formats, and you've got
Mhm.
ones that are more compressed, and then you have uncompressed
Yes.
format.
Right.
So we
Yeah.
always put the uncompressed format,
Hmm.
even though it's a digital recorder. They
Hmm.
still consider it to be
Yeah. Compressing is just you want to save space, right?
so storage could be
Yeah, storage thing.
an issue with analog.
Mhm.
And then let's see. So they're smaller, they're more portable,
Yes.
potentially less expensive nowadays.
Yes. Usually, yeah, yeah. Unless you get into the like the high end stuff there.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I know some of the costs for this stuff is
Mm,
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah. I just got a message from Belil saying that he should hopefully be able to hop on in about 10 minutes. So
Okay.
he might just, pop up on the screen and then we'll kind of
Yeah.
insert him into the conversation wherever
Yeah.
we're at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Any major um, cons that we haven't touched on?
Let me see here. I think we've hit the big ones. There's probably a few more, but
There's like limitations in editing. I'm not sure what that one means.
yeah, um, yeah, I'm not sure what that means actually. I didn't.
Sometimes we make quick. That's okay.
Because it's editing, yeah, it's usually easier to edit, with
Yeah,
digital.
yeah,
Yeah, maybe they're going. Maybe it's sound wise, character again. I
yeah.
think maybe that's what it's meant by, or
Oh,
that's.
those are because I was looking at the cons of analog. That makes
Mhm.
sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
then
that was the analog one. Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Makes sense.
yeah. Then
Yeah.
the cons of digital. Of course, a lot of these things are repetitive because we talk about their
Yeah.
strengths and
Yeah.
strengths of the
Yeah.
analog and stuff. But yeah, so the con would be that things maybe sound a little bit different than
Yeah, less character to it, more mechanized, but yeah, even then, you have to have an ear for that too.
that
Like
from
the layman couldn't tell much of a difference, I guess.
yeah.
Uh,
Is that from sampling? You have like sampling could
yes,
cause
yeah,
a lot.
and of course, your sample rates.
So what is sampling?
Well, it picks up. It does like a sample of the whatever is being captured every so much a second, and the more sampling a second you get is the better it's going to sound, right? And
Okay.
yeah, so I'm not too much knowledge in the digital end yet.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm still learning on that and on that side of things there, but
Well, it's always changing too. So
yeah.
I mean, modern technology is moving exponentially faster
Mhm.
than the
Right.
analog phase of things. So yeah, yeah, we're all just trying. We're trying to learn. A lot of the handhelds that the main investigative
Mhm.
department learns to use are digital. So
Mhm.
we have
and then and of course digital is getting a lot, but they're closing the gap. They truly are. They're working up ways to make it sound more natural and
yeah.
or just in general, not just sound, but in like
Well, they're just more
visual or
compatible with our world, right? So when we
yeah,
need to adapt the information we've captured onto,
mm,
sound software, well, the
yeah,
software is online and it's digital, and so
yeah.
it's just more compatible.
It's just yeah, quicker, faster.
Yeah,
For we didn't touch much on video. Like analog, you would get the more vibrant colors, right?
mm,
Potentially um, capture something that you may not with the digital because the digital is an approximation. It may miss something. That's why I prefer analog cameras. I'm just getting into the cameras now, so
yeah.
I don't have too much detail on that, but.
Is the SLS that you made? Would that be analog?
That's well, that's no, that's a digital. Uh, well, it's actually a combination because the electric microphones are analog, but for it's digital for video though
Okay,
purposes, yeah. But
for
that's a special setup though, the sensors in it and that could detect slight movement and see like to make that stick figure up, it has to be digitalized, right? And to
right.
make that up, it's all sampling and like in real time trying to depict what's there, and
Right.
originally it's to capture uh like in video game, you're a live video game that you're in. And I've never played Xbox, so I don't know exactly what it looks like, but
Yeah, it's a different way of presenting the information too. I feel like on digital,
yes,
it's more of like a straightforward number. Like
yeah,
you,
yeah,
it can be a
ones and
digital number,
zeros.
like an
It's all
alarm
math, yeah.
clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little easier for us to read and interpret. I find digital equipment. So
Hmm.
that's why a lot of our investigators who don't have a lot of tech background, a lot of the equipment we're using is digital because it's just
Oh, yeah, it's so
quicker
much easier, right? And yeah,
and
and
then
there's a con with analog is the setup time. Eh? for
Yeah.
our purposes, it is much longer to set up analog equipment than
Right.
just bringing in digital handhelds and whatnot. And
Yeah. 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 If we can, it's finding that balance, making sure that we're not sacrificing quality for convenience.
mhm.
But a lot of the digital equipment is still so strong that it doesn't feel like we're sacrificing anything.
No, not yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. What equipment would you say is like better digital than analog
Um,
that we would use?
that we would use, I would say, I wouldn't say one's better than the other. They're just different.
Yeah.
Like
It's
to me,
preference.
so like the analog would you it would probably sound closer, but then it may not. The distance may not have the distance that a digital might. So if something's further away, and this is all just R&D and casting the net to see what works.
Yeah.
It seems to be like that so far, anyways. And,
Yeah. Really, they should just be working together. A piece of digital
right,
and a
hybrid.
piece of
Yes,
analog, the same.
exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm working towards. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that we have different strengths in each, pretty equally,
Hmm.
and that we have both types of equipment on our
Yeah.
team, and we have just tons of every kind of equipment, like tons of audio, tons
Hmm.
of video,
Yeah.
tons of
I think like for
really.
instance the Zoom H4n that I have. I mean, I've I haven't heard anything better yet. For capturing EVPs. I suppose they talk about that old Panasonic recorder. That's worth a fortune. Um,
Some of the Sony ones are great. We actually have
yeah, oh yeah, the Sony. Yeah, not only Zoom there, but Sony Tascam. Those type of digital voice recorders there work well.
these are very high quality microphones and
Yeah.
recorders that we use. Definitely, those are some of the highest rated
So
recorders, and they're known within our field.
yeah, so
Some
the hybrid,
recorders are
the
not.
hybrid, yeah, the hybridization, like I was talking about. Now there's one right there. So I use this um, parabolic dish that I made up here
Mhm.
with an analog microphone.
Yeah,
But I hook it up to, well, first a preamp to clean up the signal from the microphone, and it goes into my Zoom recorder. So there's analog and digital working together.
right.
And then it works really well. I've caught many EVPs with this thing.
Yeah.
You know what this is? It's a squirrel baffle. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Stop,
I use
stop
Kumo's
squirrels from
computer.
eating bird seed. Yeah, and of course the size of the dish, makes a difference. Like if you're in a courtyard, you'd use like a much bigger dish, right, to capture
Yeah,
more sound coming.
right.
Yeah,
Well, I think we have a picture.
there
Yeah,
we go. Yeah,
yeah,
there it is. There. Yeah.
that's our hybrid kind of setup. And so when you join, when you kind of marry digital and analog, you
Mhm.
get a few different setups that
Mhm.
optimize both, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That just looks cool. It just looks
Yeah.
futuristic. It's awesome, but it works well.
Oh yeah, works
Always
great. Yeah.
tweaking it to make it better. And
So that's what caught. I don't know if you remember the tattoo shop one. That raspy voice. It was quite clear.
mhm.
I know you weren't there at the investigation,
Oh
but
yeah,
I think I sent it to you. And so it amplifies it. It makes it, and you can catch something at more of a distance as well.
yeah. And we can also use our digital software like Audacity. What we
Oh
use
yeah,
to actually look at the file that we've transferred to our computer. We can also amplify things on that.
yeah. Well, I do some analysis, a lot of the spectrum analysis.
Yeah,
And
we can see what range it falls in.
yeah,
Audacity, I guess, would be a digital program, right?
yeah.
So that helps us to as an interpretation tool, I guess. But
Mhm.
we have to be careful of what types of things we're doing to the audio to make sure we don't.
Exactly. Yes, you don't want to do too much to it.
Yeah.
You can clean it up and amplify it, but when you start slowing it down, like some groups do, well, you might be changing it there,
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we always keep an original copy.
Yeah. Oh, yes, of course. Yeah. The raw file. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And just making sure we didn't miss anything in the world of digital alone, but I think we covered most of the strengths. Something about there's a filter controller, the low ends and high end frequencies.
Is that so we didn't touch on the Polaroids. The Polaroids are analog, of course. So that's what I was talking about. Vibrant looking pictures, and it will again catch the natural physical environment compared to digital, right?
Yeah.
Where digital is much faster, you can take many more pictures. So that's an advantage for digital there. So we actually have a picture on the itinerary there.
Yep. I've just got
bring that up.
Yeah. And it's a bunch of Polaroid cameras on a little table. We've got quite a few, eh? How many do we have that are Polaroid?
Polaroid, we got four. Yeah, one of them isn't there right now. Yeah. And they're all different type. The one on the left there, that one takes you could so it's got a split down the middle. So you notice there's two view finders, right? You can put a filter, blue filter in one, red in the other, get a different perspective of the same picture, Yeah.
Lenses should hopefully pop up soon. Here, I'll put here last create pics.
So that, once that comes up, you'll see how more fluid the Polaroid is.
Yeah. And then we've got examples of some pictures that were taken with Polaroid too that I've let them know to pop up. No, not that picture.
Not that one, no.
We'll get to that though. That's a cool picture.
Yeah.
No.
That's
like 3 little cameras.
Yeah, it's a picture of the shadow figure at L'Oreal jail.
Yeah, that's the example we have.
Yeah. It's right after the Polaroid cameras.
Oh, he's saying he doesn't have that.
Doesn't have it, no. There's 2 of them. It's right at the end.
Yeah, he might just not have been saved.
Oh, that's too bad.
I mean, they look like pretty classic Polaroid. I can probably show it on my phone.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's the cameras, but I was talking about the actual pictures.
Yeah, the pictures. Yeah. So this was the camera that you were describing with the 2.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. So you can have different.
It did 2 different filters you could of the same picture. Yeah.
And then.
You can't see it. Too bad you couldn't bring it up. You can see the shadow figure, but not the detail.
Yeah.
So
in here and
so the detail, like if it was up, we can always post it after, right?
Yeah.
But so when you look at it, you can make the detail out in the hair and everything.
One.
Yeah.
Close up. Yeah, I think the shadow is right along the door.
Yeah. And that it seems like it's stepping out of the jail cell.
Yeah. Yeah, and Polaroids, I mean, they have a negative, right? And they can be tampered with. So really good, compelling evidence if you present it to, someone professional, they can see that it hasn't been altered. With digital, you've got Photoshop, you've got the ability to do things online that you just And then we've got what I think the waves of analog and digital look like. We've got a picture of how those sort of present. And maybe you could
digital would be more of a square wave. So again, ones and zeros, bits and bytes, where the analog is more like a smooth wave, with the peaks and valleys.
And those are measured by like voltage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And as you can see, yeah, you can just see which one's more fluid, right? More natural. Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, I don't know exactly how to read that or what exactly it
Yeah.
means.
Well,
Very
it's just
different.
even the layman could, if you look at both of them, one is like very squared off and
Yeah, I mean, if you think of
mathematical,
digital,
right?
you think of like robotic, like
Yeah. Robotic. Yes.
making squares,
Yeah. Exactly.
and then you've got the fluidity that's very it's
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. More.
And and then I mean, we've got some reference pictures as well. We could show on like where our hearing range falls and where
Mhm.
some common animals where the hearing range falls,
Yeah.
and then our depending on the piece of equipment, sometimes we catch that range and
Right. Yeah.
um,
So yeah, the different there's different types of microphones too that could like are zeroed into a certain bandwidth and like condensers are usually the lower end. The dynamic mics are a little bit on the higher end, of frequency range. Um, yeah, it's all kind of trial and error with that, and sometimes you'll catch something or one thing on one and not on the other, and then opposite. So
yeah,
you never know, really. You just kind of try and cast a wide net.
yeah, yeah. That's how we try to cover all the differences. And if we had like a goldfish on our team, that would maybe help, But
Yeah.
we had a dog at one
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
know,
Well, he picked up on a few things, it
he
seemed,
reacted to some things that I mean we didn't hear or see. So
because you don't hear much about the ultrasonic for paranormal, more of the infrasound, right? But there, I've captured stuff that has gone in to the ultrasound, above our hearing range. So
yeah,
um, yeah, so you have to step that down, right? To hear it,
mm.
step it down in octave frequencies.
Now does that distort it in any way when you're bringing something into a different?
It is, yes, yeah. It like I'm sure there's equipment out there that doesn't do that, but it's quite a
Basically
problem.
translating it right,
Yeah,
something
right.
that you can hear. So
Yeah, if you're changing octave and pitch, then yeah, you're changing it for sure.
excuse me. Um, yeah. So let me see these different species here. We've got some really weird ranges.
Hmm.
The human range is 64 to 23,000 hertz, which is a
Yeah,
pretty big range.
yeah. Is that
One,
what they say? Is that what it says? Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
It's usually the standard is 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz.
yeah, I've heard 20 as well. So that might be
Yeah.
like the younger middle ear
Oh
years,
yeah.
and
You know.
maybe
Yeah, I think even the younger, right, it's very rare probably to get right down there at 20, and hear
yeah,
something.
yeah,
But you usually lose the high end as you get older, right? The higher frequencies. And
yeah.
that's what the actually I have a couple here that I wanted to try out. Um, this is an older style hearing aids, eh? Um, and that would help you with the dynamic range, the ultrasound
Oh, cool.
range. Yeah, it's like compared to the older or the newer models. There, it's like look how bulky this thing is.
Yeah,
It's got a wired remote and yeah,
that's cool. I would have never thought to even use that. So you can
yeah,
use all kinds of things as
yeah. Oh
tools.
yeah, I haven't tried it out yet there, but
Yeah,
and I have like two different styles of the older models there.
yeah.
So get it out there one day. I just have too much equipment. Yeah.
That's awesome. Maybe we can use. How would a hearing aid work for someone who isn't hearing impaired? Would it just amplify?
It'll still help. It'll still increase the higher end, the ultrasound. or not in the ultrasound, but the higher end of the human hearing range. This is another one. So this kind of looks more like the, you know, I don't know if you can see that there,
Yeah,
but
there we go.
anyway, it's a, yeah,
Little pod.
yeah, it's a little fun.
Oh,
Kind of,
we got a friend.
oh, there he is.
Hi, Bilal. How's it going?
Hello, how are you doing, guys?
Oh,
Good.
it's great. Yeah. We've gone through a little bit of like the pros and cons of analog equipment and digital equipment, and you know how we use both of them in the field, which basically is just we layer them. You know, we try to use the benefits of both by using them kind of simultaneously to make like a big net. You know, to try to get as much range as we can, as much accuracy, so we can compare and contrast them. You know, and
The
and
hybridization, yeah, of the
Yep.
equipment, yeah.
yeah. So there's just kind of some pictures to go over. It's just time to chat about things. I'll let you and Kyle kind of chat because this is your your realm. And
Well,
he's
I'd like to hear more on how EMF would affect, like how it works. Does it work differently with analog and digital, like in the recording, with recording purposes, or because you must record what? I actually don't know. I know what you are, but I don't know exactly what industry you're in. So
electromagnetic
yeah,
something.
yeah,
Yep. So, yeah, I think when we're trying to record something, um, it really depends on many parameters. I mean, of the signal that you want to record.
Mhm.
So, if it's above the noise and the signal to noise ratio is good,
Mhm.
I think it doesn't matter whether it's analog or digital because the signal to noise ratio is good. So, the intelligence in the signal will be preserved.
Okay,
But when the signal to noise ratio is so low, I think the digital will do well.
okay,
Yeah, and it really depends on the source of the signal itself,
yeah,
because maybe the one who's transmitting that signal, or transmitting that information, maybe he's doing some kind of coding so that the information will be lost in the noise floor.
okay, yeah,
So when you use the spectrum analyzer, you will not see anything at all.
right.
You will only see the noise floor, but the intelligence is there in the noise. So you
Mhm.
have just to correlate with some kind of pseudorandom sequence, and it will pop up from the noise.
Okay.
So it really depends on many parameters. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was talking a while ago about how this is the only time it's ever happened. But so on my mixer, I have a master track. So it's an 8-channel mixer, and the master track I always listen to first because I'm hearing everything right. Although there's a lot of stuff going on, right? But so what happened is I heard an EVP on the master channel, but when I went to zero in on it on the individual mics, so there were 6 mics in the upstairs part, and every mic kind of had a different part to it. It wasn't the whole, you know what I mean? I don't know if that can be explained or not, but it was very very peculiar because I've never heard anything like that before.
I think it goes back to the concept of diversity, I guess.
Mm.
When we have many points through which we're going to receive the signal, we're not going to receive the same version
Mm.
with the same features.
Yeah.
Each of which will have its own proper
Like their
received signal. Yeah,
perception.
and we can play with these diversity schemes. It's not something bad, by the way.
Mhm.
In the telecommunication field, it's the best thing ever because if one signal is indeed fading, the other one may be strong, and we
Mm.
can combine all of them to get the
Mhm.
best.
You get
Yeah.
a complete idea from all the angles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Were you able to sync up, Kyle, that sound and whatever caught it to sort of maybe play it all together at the same time and see what.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it plays it plays them together on the master. I don't know how it did it, but it's all it was in time, right? So it's time coded, of course, and
Mhm.
I didn't do any analytical, any spectrum analyzer. I should soon actually check that out, yeah, because to see what's going on.
Mm.
But it seems like it's just parts of a whole, in each mic.
Yeah.
And
Or did any of
obviously,
them miss it completely? Were any of them completely just
yeah, there was one. I'm not saying you couldn't hear it. Well, I couldn't hear it, but it might have been there, right? Maybe it was the lower end or the higher end in frequency bandwidth, So
yeah, the capacity of that machine just might
yeah,
not have been up to par.
yeah, you'd have to do an analysis, on it.
Yeah. Having those layers is how we can corroborate things and make them the most complete that they can be and the easiest for us to hear.
Hmm.
Having all those different angles, so
Yeah.
it's cool. Yeah, I love that when you're on scene because you put a million mics everywhere, like the whole place is mic'd
Oh,
up.
the whole place is wired. Yeah.
I mean, tons of visual. I mean, we need more visual, like we could do with
Yeah.
more cameras and stuff. But I mean,
Yeah.
this stuff.
I'm looking outside of the norm there with because there's not a lot being caught visually, basically. Like even like let's say on TV, the pros, if you want to call them, they're lucky to catch one thing.
Yeah, and
Where
or
EVPs, there's always 4 or 5, anyways. And
yeah.
so
Yeah.
what that is, I don't know yet, but I'm experimenting.
Yeah, yeah. You're working with light frequency ranges and dark lighting because we don't. We investigate sometimes with lights on, but
Yeah.
all the
There's
time.
the different filters too. I don't know. I mean, like maybe Bilal can touch more on that. Like with for visual, like where it could be in a different spectrum, I guess. This stuff, like let's say an apparition, to catch an apparition. I know it's hard to explain how to catch one, but is where do you think it lies in, like
In
to
the light.
try and zero in on that?
Yeah, the filter plays big role, and it depends on the type of the filter. Um, I think from personal point of view, maybe I'm wrong. Um, it really depends on, as I said from the beginning, on the source of the signal itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're trying to catch the image of a ghost or something.
Yeah.
As a humans, we are in the trap of thinking that these ghosts are, I don't know, maybe they use the same intelligence as a human beings, maybe they use the same techniques, maybe they are, maybe they're the equivalent of their ears or their eyes, they have the same dynamic range.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not, maybe it's total new paradigm.
Yeah.
I know when it comes to I've seen a couple now. There's shadow figures, so not a full apparition there, but a full shadow figure, and it doesn't move like a human, right? So it's fluid, very fluid, eh? Like it's not like it could be walking. Yes, I seen one that looks like it's walking, but it just doesn't look like the same thing,
It might not have been a spirit, a human spirit. It could have been some other.
Who knows? Yeah, who knows what it is, eh? That was at the Cornwall jail. That's pretty.
Well, and we often wonder how spirits would be able to talk or hear us if they don't have physical eyes or ears, right?
Yeah.
Vocal cords, like that's a strange one.
Yeah.
Suzanne likes to talk about that a lot, of like how that could possibly, work.
Right.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I think it's to capture something like that. It's something to do with the sensors too. We got to have the right sensor, and I don't know. I just it's all trial and error. And
do all cameras have filters? Like all of our, capturing devices automatically have some sort of filter?
well, yeah. Well, you mean like in the IR, and most of ours are in the IR.
Yeah, like when you guys say the filter plays a big part, like is it removable? What does the filter do? Like what is the
Well, maybe Bill will explain that.
In general, the filter is trying to remove the noise. If there is some kind of noise, and this noise is big, and it's located in the same bandwidth of the signal. The filter tries to remove and to reduce, not remove 100%, but at least reduce the level of the noise.
Attenuate, yeah.
Attenuate, yeah. And when the noise is attenuated, the resolution is going to improve. And maybe you can detect something that was not there when the picture or the signal itself was noisy.
Mm-hmm. It's the same as our recorders. They have the noise reduction features and stuff, but the recorders that, well, at least one of the ones that we have, you can get rid of the noise reduction feature, so it doesn't reduce things. Is that something that you can do with cameras to only have the most natural picture being presented, even with its, mess or whatever normally would be filtered out?
The interference or whatnot.
Yeah.
Up to a certain extent. Okay. Yeah, you cannot do whatever you want, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, is there any kind of device that just captures things exactly as they are, or does a camera or visual equipment need some sort of clearing up to function?
There is no such device that will picture anything in the ideal way. Okay. There is no such thing. But we have to choose carefully the components of the camera. Sometimes we don't have to buy a camera from Amazon or from any platform. Maybe we can just combine some components from multiple companies and we build our own.
I've noticed, I don't know about cameras, but I've noticed with microphones, you don't necessarily need the most expensive one to work well.
Very true. Sounds right up Kyle's alley to be building his own camera.
Exactly. Yeah.
And by the way, maybe sometimes we can separate many signals in the same sound sample by applying some algorithms. So some scripts using C++ or Java or any other programming language, and we can separate multiple sources from the voice sample. Yeah.
That would be for maybe a digital piece of camera equipment. Yeah, you could code certain, instructions into it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Could look into that, maybe optimizing a type of visual piece of equipment, like a a video camera of some kind with all the best parts of different things, keeping the filtration to an absolute minimal. That's
I can do that with this one here somewhat. This is the SLS. This is the V2. This is not the Stickman one there, but there are some things you can do to it, with the sensors and the angles and whatnot. So I play around with that sometimes. I've only had it on a few investigations. I like the depth sensor. So it shows the distance of whatever you're capturing, as well as very good for shadows. So that's why I wanted to get out there for potentially maybe a shadow figure. Who knows? Because one test I did here, I had it at this end of the room, and it was catching the shadows of the pigeons flying outside, but behind my drapes there, they're solid. So it was catching the shadows there. So I kind of just
there you go.
A little eureka moment there.
Maybe you tested with your shadow too, didn't you? I think I saw a video of you walking by, but just your shadow, and it
just the shadow, the angles.
Found it, yeah. I mean, we test things as best we can,
Yeah. I really like the pigeon one because it was behind the veil, so to speak.
Yeah, that's some obstruction.
Yeah.
It wasn't a super like dark shadow.
No, I couldn't see it with my eyes,
And it's not human.
It's flying by, but this thing saw it, eh?
So how does it, without like the limbs, like the 4 limbs, how did the stick figure, did it look like, a body with 2 kind of wings?
Oh no, it didn't catch the stick figure. It was just catching the shadows of the birds flying by, right?
Okay.
Behind the curtain, the solid curtains,
Yeah.
I couldn't see them flying with, but the sensors were picking it up. So it's just the range, I guess, eh? Like,
yeah, it's good to know how
yeah.
you need context to know how deep it's going. Everything needs to be perceptually accurate too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
mapped out, right?
And by the way, I remember I saw in one documentary that some guys, they use some cameras to detect the energy level in some place. So when there is someone over there who has some temperature, it will display some red spots over there.
oh,
Maybe.
like an infrared,
Yeah.
infrared. Yeah, I've used one a few times. That's that's a very good piece of equipment too. I've never captured any. Well, you were on some investigations, Taylor, with when I had the infrared out. So that's the infrared camera.
That thermal.
Thermal camera. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thermal camera. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we farted on it to see what was
yeah. That's true.
it worked. What he was describing, it struck me as it could have been a few different kinds of equipment that we have.
No, this is for heat and measuring heat and it images everything in front of you, right? Like a video camera, but it's got the different heat, the colors, it's cold and it tells you the exact temperature.
Everything is color coded by the temperature, so you can see cold spots, hot spots.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was like motion reacted or if it was like automatic.
Well, it was real time. It was in real time, and it wasn't motion. No, it was like a video camera, but with the with the thermal measurements.
There's a lot of different. There's also cameras that are, I think they're ultraviolet or full spectrum cam. You start seeing these colored, blobs that are apparently ghosts, in the shows and stuff. But
I think you're talking about EMCCDs. They're charge coupled devices. There, it's a camera that's I forget how it works. There, it intensifies, or it's on electron multiplying charge coupled device. That's what it is. Yeah, and so. I've always, they're expensive. I'd love to have one.
Make one.
Oh,
I just believe you can do anything. It
would take a while. I know that. I'd rather find one.
Cameras are something worth exploring too. I feel like we explore audio a little bit more, but visual spectrum, falling into UV and IR and in those other ranges is where we might be able to capture more visual stuff.
Well, I'm reading up on it now. That's it. Yeah, it's true. I was sound first, but now that that's pretty well set up. I mean,
we've got a lot.
I'll get into the video end.
Awesome. Cool. Well, we're gonna slowly wrap up because we're a little over an hour, and we've covered pretty much everything. Like, there's just different strengths to different things, and we use them all in conjunction. We're super lucky to have, you who's got tons of equipment. Some of it's like homemade, but reliably so because you have a background in this stuff. You're not just making random stuff, but you really know what you're doing, and we test them out, and they function, and we do trial and error, and
it's a trial and error thing.
We try to find the errors in them, and we have a lot of different types of equipment, and some of it's, hard to lug around to every investigation, and some of it's, traded convenience for more faulty kind of results, so we have to kind of use them together.
Yeah, in
And,
conjunction.
yeah, but we always like, read the reviews before we buy stuff. We get like the best state of the art stuff if we do digital or whatever. We're really not sacrificing too much of the quality because we make sure that we spend the extra amount and get, well, you especially spend the extra amount. The stuff that you have is a lot of it is yours, and you get the better stuff. So that's kind of how we do things, and we just test things out and trial and error, and that's all we do. We get people with specialty backgrounds like you and Bilal and Tony, who's got an electrician background, which plays a part, with technical interference and EMF levels and
and Bhuvan, who
Bhuvan,
I'm sure he works with the sensors. Sensor end of things, like that.
Like his brain imaging,
yeah.
It's true. I forget that he has also kind of a tech side of things as well as that cognitive human sort of psychology side. But I mean, we have a great group of people. We're covering everything like as best as we possibly can with a topic that's just so mysterious and unexplored. We're doing the best that we can. That's
it's so broad.
Yeah, we don't know what ghosts are made of. We don't know where they speak, what frequency. We don't know what they're made of. So how do you know how to measure those things? Like, you just have to look at the patterns from other paranormal investigators who have had success, and you start to just build patterns of hypothesis. Like that's all that we can do, and try to test it and find more patterns until eventually it seems like we've found a string of things that are beyond probability, and we're on the right track. Like that's all that we can do. So. And some things we feel more sure about than others, So, Any last thoughts? I know you guys could probably chat forever about this, and we'll get like lots of time to. I mean, Bilal's new, but hopefully have an investigation coming.
We need that big investigation there where we have the whole weekend to set up.
I love that. We're getting like the whole team together. It's hard with a lot of members, but do our best. We're aiming for the end of summer. Hopefully, like. Early fall, get an investigation. Hopefully everyone can make it and we can bring out the equipment and really do a nice big one. And you guys will get to chat. And I mean, you'll have your tech department going on and, show them around and pick each other's brains and things that we just can't keep up with. But
well, especially, like with the EMF end of things where I'm not, like I understand it, but not in detail, So that's going to be
a specialist. That's awesome. I'm excited to hear what you guys all come up with and to keep understanding these things more myself. It's definitely a learning curve for me, and a lot of the other people in our team are new and have no experience investigating or with equipment. So. Yeah, it's awesome. And I know a lot of viewers will appreciate this podcast episode because we've tried to put things in layman's terms for them to understand, even people with a really basic knowledge like me. That's why, I was here to kind of balance it out, ask the dumb questions, because I'm like dumb when it comes to a lot of this. And that's why
No, they weren't dumb questions. They were,
I think we explained things in a way that a lot of people can really start to understand. And this is just an introduction into that stuff. Of course, go into way more detail, possibly on future episodes, or we could just go live one day and just let, our audience who's into this more, tech side of things, scientific
or
side.
even before an investigation when everything's set up, we can kind of breeze through it.
Totally. Yeah. And then we can physically, touch the things, try them out. Yeah. Some things, I mean, you're coming up with new things and obtaining new things all the time. There's things I've never seen before that you have. I have no idea what they are. Awesome. Well, thank you, both of you. I know Bilal, you had to kind of rush home, so thank you for making it work, even for a short little while. It's super interesting to get your insights on things, and just to see you guys both like nerd out together is really fun for me and for everyone. So I appreciate you guys coming and all the viewers for watching, and we'll be back next month, and we can keep these conversations going too on our social media, and everyone can comment, their experiences with different equipment and their advice and stuff like that.
Definitely send send your experiences with
where do
everything
you think
paranormal.
ghosts live?
Yeah.
What frequency do you think we're in? Where do we find them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Have a good night, everyone. See you in a month.